afternoon. Today we are going to continue with those x and y intercepts. We are doing CO53. I should be up here. CO53, I can identify the x-intercept and y-intercept of a line given an equation. So our last objective, we saw the line, we could clearly see where it crossed the x-axis and where it crossed the y-axis. Now it's not going to be so clear because we have to work with the equation. So we're going to do a little bit more math onto this. So what is true about the ordered pair of every x-intercept? Y equals 0. What is true about every y-intercept? Yes. X is 0. Why do you think I keep going over that and keep repeating it, Audrey? Not that we need to know it for the test, which you do, but every objective builds on itself. It is that important that we understand the y-intercept and the x-intercept because it keeps on coming back. We need to understand it so when we get to the next objective, it makes sense. When we get to the objective on top of that, next year in algebra, when you're in, you're in pre-algebra. When you're in high school math and into calculus, it keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. You need to know and understand the intercepts. So we keep repeating it because it's that important. So the above answers are important because it helps us understand why we do what we do when we're solving an equation for the x-intercept and for the y-intercept. You need to understand why we're doing the equations, why they work out. It'll help make sense. So, to find an x-intercept, you need to solve for x when y equals 0. And to find the y-intercept, you need to solve for y when x equals 0. So when we have an equation that has both the x and the y, we need to decide, am I solving for the x-intercept or the y-intercept? I can put a 0 in for the other variable. So these equations are in a different form. So this is what these equations are going to look like. Ax plus by equals c. This form helps identify the intercepts. So it's a little confusing when you first hear about it, but once we start to work with it, it starts to make more sense. Should we have all this written down? Okay. I'm going to scroll up so we can see it better. So we're going to solve the equation for the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So if we have 3x plus 8y equals 24, I'm going to say, okay, this is my x-intercept, and this is going to be the y-intercept. So I'm breaking it into two. We're going to do two different things with the equation. One for the x-intercept, one for the y-intercept. So if we're going to solve it for the x-intercept, what variable can I change to a number? Emmeline? Well, I'm solving for x. So what do I need to change? You want to try again? Michael?
The y
is going to be what?
0.
I'm going to put a 0 in for the y. Because to find the x-intercept, we know that y is 0. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. I'm going to say 3x plus 8 times 0 equals 24.
Wait, is 3 times x or just 3x?
Well, 3x means what? 3 times x. We don't have to put the multiplication symbol because we know When a number is outside of the variable, it means we're multiplying. So 3x stays the same. What is 8 times 0? 0. So it's 3x equals 24. I don't need to say plus 0. Opposite operations. What does x equal, Evelyn? 8. Because we're going to divide by 3. Divide by 3. We get 24 divided by 3. X equals 8. So that means we're not done yet because we need to solve it for our x-intercept. How would I write that as an ordered pair? Aiden?
8, 0.
I would write it as 8, 0. That is my x-intercept. Because I know if y is 0, my x is going to be 8. So now let's look at our y-intercept. How should I write my equation? Think about what we did for the x-intercept. How should I write it for my y-intercept? Michael.
The same thing, but instead of y.
Walk me through it. Tell me what to write.
3 times 0 plus 8 times y. What?
Equals.
24.
So we have to write the full equation. So now I can say 3 times 0, I know is 0. Then I have 8y equals 24. Opposite operations, divide each side by 8. Y equals what? Michael? 3. So what is my y-intercept, Evelyn? 0, 3. If x is 0, y will be 3. So it is very important when we write our answer that we understand this is our y-intercept, this is our x-intercept. Just putting x equals 8 is not the x-intercept. You have to put that ordered pair. Emily.
Do you need to write that at all of that for like all of this? You can, because out of all of it, you can see that like if it's the x-intercept, you just use 24.
So I wrote out each step for this one so we could see it, right? So we know that it's 0 times the constant. So what I would like you to do for the next two, I want you to write out each step so it sinks into your head. Then the ones underneath, you can say, all right, I know if I'm putting a 0 in for my x, that's going to be 0, so I'm going to write what? Negative 2y equals 40. Because we need to remember that if 10 times 0 is 0, we still have that minus 2y. That is a negative 2y, right? Don't forget, those minus signs mean negative if the number in front of it falls off.
You need to write.
So you do need to write an equation. You need to write this. Then you need to solve for the y. I do want to see this part of it. You don't have to do the times the 0, but you most definitely need to write negative 2y equals 40, y equals. Because why do we show our work? Yes? So we can come back to it. One, if we get the wrong answer, we can figure out where we went wrong. Two, when we come back to review it for the test, we remember what we did. If you just write the answer and you come back to review it, you're going to go, oh, I don't remember how I solved this. Oops. You always show your work in math. Unless it's, 5 times 3. Not that kind of show your work. But the different steps so you can go back and see how you're solving it, to remember it, and to find mistakes. Aiden.
For these equations, is adding and subtracting basically just the same steps?
I don't know what you mean. Which one do you want me to look at?
Like the way it's just like a subtraction problem?
This one?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this one together. So first we'll do the x-intercept. So 3 times x minus 6 times 0 equals 42, right? So we know minus 6 times 0, that's minus 0. So I don't need to rewrite that. So then I'll have 3x equals 42, and we're back to the same steps.
Okay.
So I think that answers your question. Yeah, subtracting, adding, you're still doing the same steps. So what would x equal here? Gus?
Like 14. Yeah, but you want like the actual thing.
I said what x would equal. Gus, can you tell me what the ordered pair would be?
15
Let's look at our y-intercept. This time it's 3 times 0 minus 6y equals 42. So what do I write for my next step? How do I solve this, Evelyn?
3 to 0, so shift 6 times y equals 42.
So you said 6 times y equals 42.
Divide both.
Oh, what very important thing did we forget? So Aiden, this is where the difference comes in with the adding and subtracting. We cannot forget, if it says minus, we have to bring that down as a negative. So here, minus 0, well, we know if we minus 0 from something, it's nothing. So we didn't have to carry down that minus into a negative, negative 0, that doesn't make sense, right? On this side, it was minus 6y. So we have to remember that minus becomes the negative 6y. So then we need to divide by a negative 6. So y equals not 7, but negative 7. And that's going to be a very different y-intercept between 7 and negative 7. So our y-intercept with x is 0, y is negative 7. Does that make sense? That is a very, very common mistake that people make. Do not forget that minus sign turns into the negative. Any other questions on our math today? And don't forget, at the very bottom, you have to write out equations that would have those x and y intercepts. So you need to think it through. What would the equation look like? So with that, we're going to do some work time to work out solving our x and y intercepts with the equation instead of a graph. And if you have questions, come up and see me. If you want to check your answers to see if you're on the right track, come check your answers with me. For my friends at home, we hope you are well, and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.